Hi everyone, welcome to the Ministry of Guitar. This is going to be your simple, easy, one-place guide for PRS guitars. Whether you're a beginner, whether you have a casual interest in PRS guitars, this should work for you. The simple way to think about it is there is the core, which is the premium range made in USA. There is the S2 and the bolt-on. That's going to be the standard range also made in the USA. There is the SE, which is the economical, affordable range made overseas, sometimes in Indonesia, sometimes in China. And then finally, we have private stock, which is a super premium luxury range. Each of these ranges will get a video. This is video number 2 on the SE range. The SE range stands for Student Edition. This is the entry level, affordable, not made in the USA, but made in Indonesia and China. In general, I recommend you can take a look at part 1, which is going through the core guitars, because the SE guitars are based on the core guitars. But you can watch this video on its own if you want. Part 1 will just make it easier for you. So before we get into model by model, I'm going to run you through, number 1, what are the differences between the USA range and the SE range? What is it that makes the SE range more affordable? And number 2, the different body shapes and in general, the starting point for you to understand all the models. The differences between the USA and the SE range are a few. There is firstly the cost of manufacturing difference, because the SE range is made in a lower cost country. USA is more expensive, of course, than Indonesia and China. Then there are feature differences. So I'm just going to illustrate that using this example of a USA Custom 24, which is the kind of the base model, the main model that PRS is known for, and talk about the differences that you would see on an SE. So difference number 1 would be in the woods themselves. The US models use the best pick of the woods, the lightest woods. The SEs would have a lower bar for the woods that are used on the guitar. Number 2, in terms of the design of the guitar, a US model has, if you look at the top of the US model, it has a flame maple, actual piece of flame maple, a thick piece. And that is a figured piece with all these lines. Those are very expensive. So what happens on SE models is that you get not an actual piece of large thick flame maple, you get a veneer, almost like not a sticker, but a very thin piece of wood. The shape of the body itself for the SE line is different. So if you look at the US model, there's something called a violin carve. So this is 3-dimensional. If you look at the guitar, you can kind of tell from the way the light is going that it's not flat, it's 3-dimensional. It's called a violin carve. It's expensive to manufacture. For the US line, they do it. For the SE line, they make it much, much shallower, so it's much more flat than the US one. So that's another difference. There is also a difference in the electronics. So the US uses electronics that is made in the US. The SE uses electronics that's made outside, and of course the materials are very different. Even the materials for the hardware, when I say hardware, I mean the bridge of the guitar, I mean the tuners of the guitar. The US uses very, very high-end hardware made from the best metals, like this is actual brass. SE would be using something more like cast metal, a much cheaper grade, right? So functionally, the designs look very similar, but they are different. There is a functional difference also. The US usually comes with what is called locking tuners, which means that it's very easy to just restring. You just put one, you can just lock the string into place. In the SE, you get regular tuners, which means you have to manually restring it. So that gives you a sense of the flavors, right? There is a cost of manufacturing difference, and then there is feature difference. Functionally, are they very, very different? No. An SE can perfectly service very well as an electric guitar. Though it is called Student Edition, it can be a working person's guitar. It is a proper electric guitar. Let's talk a little bit about the shapes of PRS that you find in the SE lineup. There are 3 main shapes to know. There is what is called the double cut shape. This is what you see over here. Double cut essentially means 2 horns. So right, 1 horn over here, 2 horns over there. You get a slightly thinner body and a slightly thicker body. That's a double cut shape. Single cut shape means 1 horn. So you've got a horn on this side, and then you have this round solid thing on the other side. This is called a single cut shape. It's also called a Les Paul shape. Easy way to know about it. Single cut shapes tend to be a little bit thicker, tend to be a little bit heavier than double cut shapes. The last shape that you need to know is the hollow body shape. It's similar to a double cut, but it's hollow. So you can see these things, these are called F holes. The other 2 guitars were solid bodies. This is the hollow body, so it's empty in between, just a bit of wood over here. This is kind of in between an electric and acoustic, but definitely an electric guitar. So let's go through the range. The starting point of the range and the main guitar in the PRS SE and PRS Core USA lineup is the Custom 24. This is the original PRS model. This is essentially a very, very versatile modern guitar, a guitar that is very easy to play because it's modern. It is versatile because it can cover a large range of sounds. And what you see essentially are a lot of variations on this theme. So you basically have the SE Custom 24, which is the base model. You have a lefty version of it. You have the Custom 2408, which has a slightly different switching system. We'll talk about it. The SE Custom 24 Floyd, and then the SE Custom 24 Quilt. So what makes a Custom 24? It has 24 frets, which is the number of frets on the guitar. It has a tremolo, and in general, it's a thin guitar. That's why it's called a custom. And so it's very easy. It's a very modern guitar to play. The difference between SE Custom 24 and SE Custom 2408 is a switching layout. The SE Custom 2408 has 2 extra switches. They're called mini switches, and those mini switches help you get a broader range of sounds. So both the SE Custom 24 and the Custom 2408 is essentially for the regular modern guitarist who wants a lot of sounds, who wants a guitar that can cover everything. So the SE Custom 2408 obviously gives you more sounds because in the SE Custom 24, you can essentially get 6 sounds because you can basically have a 3-way switch and you can split each of the electronics, so you get 3 into 2. Custom 2408, you can combine the 2 sets of electronics in different ways, so you get 2 extra sounds. SE Custom 24 Floyd is a very specific guitar. A Floyd Rose is a tremolo, which is the pitch varying system, but it is something from the 80s. It's a very, very specific sound. It creates a lot of range. It's something that people who like the music of the 80s and who like particular lead guitar really like to play. I do not recommend you getting a SE Custom 24 Floyd if you are a new guitarist. A Floyd Rose guitar is something that needs knowledge to maintain. It's an amazing thing to have, but if you are a new guitarist, please avoid it. Avoid it. Okay, last option, SE Custom 24 Quilt. Quilt just refers to the top. So when you have lines on maple like this is called flame maple. And when you have thicker lines or almost like waves, that is called quilt. Quilt is even rarer than flame. It is more expensive. So the quilt option of SE Custom 24 Quilt is the more expensive option. The other additional thing is the SE Custom 24 Quilt has what's called a matching headstock. So you get the quilt and the color on the headstock as well. There is a new model to know when you think of the SE range. There is the CE24. The SE CE24 is almost identical to the SE Custom 24. The difference is the joint. So both the McCarty 594 and the SE Custom 24 essentially have what is called a set neck, which means the neck is glued into the body. This is the more expensive method. There is a method where you don't glue the neck into the body, you bolt on the neck into the body, hence called bolt on. It's held on with screws. That is what the SE CE24 does. It's a different sound. It's a new model, so it will be very similar to the SE Custom 24, but with what they call a snappier sound, a bit more response, a little bit more percussive sound. Matter of preference again. A very, very valid choice if you're considering the SE Custom 24. Let's talk about the SE Standard Custom 2408. This is identical to the SE Custom 2408. The difference is that instead of having that maple top, it has a mahogany top, so you don't have that maple veneer. Tonally, it'll be identical. It is just aesthetic difference. So everything I told you about the SE Custom 2408 will apply for this. The next range to know about is the SE McCarty 594 range. This is built on the very successful core McCarty 594 model, which is essentially trying to be something similar to a Gibson Les Paul, if you're familiar with that. There are 2 body shapes. There is the double cut shape that you can see right behind me. It is similar to the Custom 24, but it is thicker bodied. And unlike the Custom 24, the SE McCarty 594 does not have a tremolo. It has something called a fixed bridge, which is what you see over here. That's the first shape. The second shape is the single cut shape that you can get in SE McCarty 594, which is similar to what I'm holding here. Again, this is a made in USA, but you get a sense. So SE McCarty 594 is more for somebody who wants to play Les Paul like music, so a little bit more traditional choice compared to Custom 24. Think of rock, blues, clean guitar, everything from the 60s onwards till modern. And honestly, you can play everything, but that's kind of what the wheelhouse: 60s, 70s, a bit of 80s, a bit of Guns N' Roses, a bit of Led Zeppelin, everything in that camp. Eagles, everything in that camp. In the SE McCarty 594, there are differences in trim. You get something called SE McCarty 4 Standard on the single cut shape. What that means is it does not have this flame maple veneer. It basically has a plain mahogany top. It's an aesthetic difference. Tonally, it would make no difference. The other difference between an SE McCarty 594 and a Custom 24 is the length, the scale length between the nut, which is here, and the end of the strings, which is here. The difference is the SE McCarty 594 is shorter. It is shorter because that is how Gibson Les Pauls are, and it makes it a little bit easier to bend the strings when you're playing. That's, again, a matter of preference. I want to now get into the hollow body range. The hollow body range is essentially this shape that I told you earlier, where instead of the solid guitars like the Custom 24 or McCarty, this is the hollow body guitar. Why would you have a hollow body guitar? It gives you a very different sound. It's traditionally used in jazz. It's more mellow, it's a bit more airy. It's a specific sound. The other thing that they do with the hollow bodies in the SE range is that they pair it with something called the Piezo. That helps you get the acoustic sound. So this is the guitar that's almost the best of both worlds because you can get both the electric and acoustic sounds. The hollow body range begins with the Hollowbody Standard. Similar to what I was telling you with the SEs, with the Custom 24 and McCarty, the Standard is basically all mahogany body. In the case of the SE Hollowbody Standard, you get two models, the SE Standard and the SE Standard Piezo. Only difference being the Piezo has the option to get the acoustic sounds. So it makes it a very, very... In fact, I would say the SE Hollowbody Standard is one of the best guitars for the beginners who want a lot of guitar and who don't want to keep buying new guitars, right? They want a guitar they can start off with and stick to. That can do a lot. It can cover you, it can cover a musician. After the Standard, you just have the SE Hollowbody, no suffix. That is basically the Hollowbody with the maple body, so maple front and back. Difference between an SE Hollowbody and a made in USA Hollowbody is this is an actual piece of flame maple. The whole thing is flame maple. You can see it over here. In the SE Hollowbody, what it would be is the piece of maple is a regular piece of maple without all the lines, and to get all those beautiful flame lines, they stick a veneer, a very thin piece. So that's one difference of the SE Hollowbody. So again, SE Hollowbody, you have two variants similar to the Standard. You can get the regular, or you can get it with the Piezo, which gives you the electric and acoustic sounds. So think of the SE Hollowbody Standard as the more bare basics choice, and the SE Hollowbody without Standard, just SE Hollowbody as the more premium choice with the flame maple beautiful look. Now we get into some things that are more specialist, more beyond the regular beginner guitar, but still interesting to consider. There is a recently launched model called the Swamp Ash Special. It is essentially made because it's made from a specific kind of wood called swamp ash, which gives it a very bright, a very snappy sound. If you think of guitars, Fender guitars are known for being made from swamp ash and they're known from having a very snappy sound. The SE Swamp Ash is kind of similar, but it is a little bit more versatile because it also comes with the thick humbuckers. So it gives you a huge range of sounds. For your first guitar, I would not recommend the SE Swamp Ash Special. It's again a very specific thing, but it is a brilliant guitar for people who are looking for something, who are looking for that kind of thing. The most popular part of the SE range that we cover now is the Silver Sky. The Silver Sky is the signature model of John Mayer. It is essentially PRS's version of the most popular electric guitar out there, which is the Fender Stratocaster. But it is different because it is made to John Mayer specifications, hence it's kind of based off some 60s classic Strats. They have a made in USA model, and the SE version is the cheaper version of that. So if you're looking to get a Stratocaster kind of guitar, the SE Silver Sky is a very good option because it is made with PRS quality, which is a very good thing. It's usually superior to most other guitars at its price point. And you get two options with the SE Silver Sky, which is the rosewood fretboard. kind of similar to what you see here, and maple fretboard, which is a lighter wood. Maple is the same wood that you see on the body, but fretboard would be different. They wouldn't be using these flame maple. It would just be plain maple. And so the difference between the two is a question of feel and a question of sound. The rosewood would sound a little bit warmer, a little bit less high-pitched. The maple would sound more high-pitched, just a question of preference. Now we get into the extended range. Extended range means non-standard electric guitars which go beyond the normal 6 strings or the normal length. There are two kinds of extended range guitars in this SE range. There is a baritone guitar. A baritone guitar is something that's similar to a regular guitar, but it's longer. The neck is longer. And because of the neck being longer, you can tune it lower. So it is in between a bass and electric guitar. So you have a model that's called the SE 277. The reason it's called the 277 is that refers to the length between the scale length between the end of the strings and the nut. It's 27.7 inches. A regular guitar like this, Hollowbody, would be 25 inches. And a McCarty 594 would be 24.594. So you can tell it's longer, so you can tune lower. It's a great starter's baritone guitar. In fact, if you like playing electric guitar and you want to try something new, you want to extend your range, that's a good pun. SE277 is a very, very good option for that. And then there is the SE Holcomb 7. So that is the only 7 string in the lineup. Again, if you're starting to play guitar, I do not recommend you start with a 7 string. Start with a nice 6 string. But if you're feeling adventurous and you're comfortable on the 6 string, the SE Holcomb 7 string is a very good option. It is based on the specifications of a modern guitarist called Mark Holcomb, who plays with a band called Periphery. So it's really very specific. It's made for heavy music, yet very ambient music. Very much its own thing. A good option. If you want a good 7-string guitar, the SE Holcomb is really, really a good option to start off with. We'll cover now a few signature guitars. The most famous one is the SE DGT. The SE DGT, in fact, is the only SE guitar that is completely sold out and very difficult to find. And the reason for that is the guitar that it's based on, is a very good guitar, and they have made a very good affordable version of it. I recommend you can take a quick look at my video on core guitars to get a sense. The remit of the core guitar, the core DGT, is to have a guitar with PRS playability, with PRS quality, but can get a lot of vintage Fender and vintage Gibson tones. And the DGT does it really, really well. And the SE DGT brings that to a whole different price point. So think of a guitar that is very similar to the Custom 24, but a little bit more traditional because it has 22 frets instead of 24, a thicker body, and a slightly different layout and different range of sounds. So SE DGT is a great starter's guitar as well. The SE Holcomb is very similar to a Custom 24. The difference between a regular Custom 24, SE Custom 24, and a Holcomb is the Holcomb doesn't have a tremolo, a variable pitch bridge. It has a hard tail, which means that it's fixed. It's a fixed bridge. Second difference is the Holcomb has a longer scale length, which is the distance, as I mentioned. The reason for these, and the third difference is the radius, the actual curvature of the neck is flatter on the Holcomb. The reason for these three differences is to make the Holcomb better suited for playing metal. So if you want to get an SE Custom 24, but you are a bit more metal oriented, you like harder music, harder rock and heavier music, the SE Holcomb is a very good option for you. Plus the Holcomb comes with a very specific aesthetic. It has quilted maple, similar to the SE Custom 24 quilt that we told you. And it has these beautiful colors. The electronics that you get on the SE Holcomb is also much more premium than what you get on the normal SE Custom 24, because you get the actual made in USA electronics by Seymour Duncan, premium electronics pickup company. So the SE Holcomb is a very good option for the person looking for a metal guitar on a very affordable price point. Then there is the SE Tremonti. The Tremonti is based on a single cut shape. Though the Tremonti looks like a single cut and very similar to a McCarty 594, there are two key differences. Difference number one is that a Tremonti does not have a fixed bridge. It has a tremolo similar to the Custom 24. Difference number two is the Tremonti has a thinner neck. So in general, more traditional guitars like the McCarty 594 will have a thicker neck. The more modern guitars like the Custom 24 will have a thinner neck. There is a third difference as well. The electronics on the Tremonti are much hotter, much more suited for heavier modern music compared to a McCarty 594. So the Tremonti is for you if you want the Gibson feel, the single cut feel, but you want something modern. It's almost like a Super Les Paul. So the SE Paul's guitar is an interesting guitar. Think of the SE Custom 24 behind me, but instead of having the tremolo, you have the hardtail. Instead of having 24 frets, you have 22 frets. And instead of having those modern pickups, you have more traditional sounding pickups, and you also have a thicker body. So the way to think about it is, say you don't want the most modern guitar out there. You like to play blues and rock and a little bit older pop music. You may consider the SE Custom 24, though it's a very good option, to be a little bit more modern for you. You may consider the McCarty 594 to be a little bit too traditional for you. So the Paul's guitar for me is a happy mix in between, where you can get the modernness of the double cut shape, but at the same time you get the more traditional kind of sound from the electronics. Good option out there, very, very popular. The SE Santana is its own thing. It's essentially the signature version, the affordable version of Santana, of Carlos Santana's guitar. It's different from anything else in the PRS lineup. It's a very specific thing. Again, I don't recommend it as your first guitar unless you know what you want. It has got features of both the McCarty as well as the custom, but some features only and some features it's missing. So it has 24 frets like a custom 24. It has the short scale like a McCarty. It has a tremolo like a custom 24, and it has its very own body shape. A very specific guitar, interesting for some, not for everybody. So don't get it unless you know that's exactly what you want. And then we'll end things off with the last signature guitar, which is a Zach Myers. It's very similar to the Tremonti or McCarty 594 in that it comes with a single cut body, but it has a F hole, so it is a semi-hollow construction, and it has its own pickup system. So it won't be as traditional as McCarty 594. It won't be as modern as Tremonti. And of course, the other thing with the Zach Myers, it has a very, very beautiful aesthetic. Similar to the SE Custom 424 Quilt, it has a matching headstock. It has these almost turquoise blue colors. So it's a more aesthetic choice. So think of the Zach Myers as a slightly different flavor on the McCarty 594. You can choose which one you prefer. All right, so I hope this is helpful. I will just repeat again. To understand better about all of the models that the SEs are based on, please refer to my first video, which is part 1. And yeah, all the best getting the SE guitar you want. Till next time.